I was checking the ingredients for my NyQuil and I noticed that it said it had like 10% alcohol. What is going on here? I'm not trying to get drunk. I'm just trying to make like the cough and my body ache go away. Am I gonna have to like hit up an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting soon? Like, can they make this type of medication without the alcohol? I don't know what's going on. I didn't even know that was a thing. I just recently noticed it. Anyways, all jokes aside, let's get straight into this because I'm tired, I'm sick, I don't feel very well, but whatever. Action figures, that's all we need in life. So in today's video, I thought that we would talk a little bit about just random releases that have been popping up on my radar. Some of these aren't necessarily like brand new figures or pre-order figures. Some of them just recently went or became available, and so I just wanted to showcase them. And then others that honestly I didn't even know existed, but they kind of just popped up and I was like, okay, we'll talk about them. They look really cool, they look really well designed, and they come with a ton of different accessories. So let's get straight into the first one. I did want to talk about the Nightfall Mafex Batman action figure. This thing looks really well done. I've always been a really big fan of Mafex, even though I don't love the price points and sometimes the paint isn't great. It's just kind of like plain plastic, but this figure looks phenomenal. I love the sculpt work. I love how intricate it is. It has, you know, the proper little design details that you wouldn't expect from, like, let's say McFarlane, even though he just did his Nightfall action figure. I'm assuming this one's gonna have like better articulation. And then I think the McFarlane Nightfall also had a hard plastic cape or a soft plastic cape, and then this one will come with a wired soft cape. Now, I gave it its love. It is a phenomenal looking figure. I love some of the poses that he can get into, and I think the wired cape just always adds another layer, because even if he's not in like a crazy dynamic pose, the cape flowing in the wind, I don't know, it adds more presence to the figure in your display. But the figure is really lacking when it comes down to accessories. It's going to come with 4 hands total, 2 head sculpts, one, you know, with the cowl on, and then an unmasked head sculpt, and it will also come with a grapple hook with a line coming out of it. That's it. And in case you guys are wondering what the price point for this particular figure is, it's low 100s. I think, as I've always said, it just depends on where you pick up your import action figures, because if you're buying directly, sometimes you can get, you know, cheaper shipping, whatever the case may be, but you'll still be paying around that $100 price point. So I'm not too happy about it. I'm sure they could have thrown in a few extra little accessories here or there. I mean, they have plenty of Batman releases in the past. They could have easily thrown in some batarangs or something just to kind of bump up the value a little bit. So I'm a little bit torn. This isn't necessarily like a bad figure per se. I just don't know if there's enough value to excuse that price point. It feels like we're living in this weird time frame where manufacturers are either not giving us enough with these action figure releases, or there are like these ridiculous price hikes. So I think this figure kind of falls into that category. Regardless, if you have the extra, you know, Benji hanging around, this is a really good looking action figure, and it is now available through multiple different retailers. And then I did want to give you guys a quick little heads up on this random figure that I'd never heard of. I've never heard of the studio either that is behind this particular action figure. We're talking about the Rage Z-Boys Tooth Kid. I don't know if this is based on anything particular, or if this is just like their mascot, or if this is their own IP, but this figure looks like really well done. It reminds me a lot of like what Mezco does from time to time. They'll just kind of grab a concept or create a character on the spot and then just manufacture a really good action figure, a really good collectible based on it. And I feel like that's what could potentially be happening here, but I'm really digging the look. I'm really digging the aesthetics. I'll be honest with you, when I first saw the head sculpt for this figure, it kind of reminded me of a kid that I knew way back in elementary. He was this really big douchebag, and he once punched my milk carton and the milk splattered everywhere and it got on like all my friends. It's just, I like the figure, but there's something about it that just makes me think it's like a douchey character. But look, as I mentioned, all childhood trauma aside, this is just a really well designed figure. There are going to be 2 different versions. One of them is going to retail for about low 100s. The other one I think is going to retail for about 180. The one that's going to retail for 180 has like interchangeable limbs and things of that nature, because there is a zombified version of the character. The regular release does not have all those extras. Now, the original one will come with some alternate face plates, 8 hands total, a magnetic gas mask. It will also come with an axe, a dagger, a couple of other really cool, intricate weapons. As I mentioned before, the figure just comes with a lot of different options. I really like the extra face sculpts. The figure does come with some soft goods, and the sculpt work overall is just very intricate. There's a lot to look at. There's definitely a lot of like extra shade work. Even the hands and the fingers feel like they're like very expertly crafted. It's just not something that you usually see from the stuff that we get here in the States. You're paying a higher price point, but you're getting that extra little detail that I think you usually get with a lot of these expensive imported action figures. Overall, it looks like a phenomenal figure. Now, as I mentioned, there is an alternate version or a more expensive version. Now, with this particular version, you're getting everything that you would get with the original one, but here you're getting like the extra zombified parts, the head, some extra zombified hands as well. So it's just like an alternate look. I think in reality, you're almost getting like an alternate figure because you actually do get a brand new torso with the figure. So in reality, if you're like a customizer or something like that and you wanted to use that torso for something, you could actually do that. I think the only thing that you would need for the torso would be the legs, or I should say the lower legs, like just his boots, because it does include the hands and it includes the head sculpts, and then you would just need like some clothing on him. So you're essentially getting like almost 2 figures here if you really stop and sit down and do the math. So I think there's a ton of value there with the alternate zombified version. If you guys are interested in either one of these, definitely showcase some love. At least check it out. I went on Big Bad Toy Store. I was scrolling through their new releases and I happened to run across this. On a side note, I was taking a closer look at the promotional images and I believe the clothing is also different. So I know I mentioned that you essentially get everything that you would get from the original one, but the clothing is like a darker color tone. I think it's like the exact same style of clothing, just in like a darker shade of fabric. So just wanted to throw that out there. But if you guys are interested, as I said, the regular version is going for low 100s. The other version is going for closer to like 180-ish. Now, I did want to finish off today's video, and I know people hate when I talk about Funko Pops, but I did run across some that I think were pretty cool because I actually did grow up watching some of this stuff. Now, the what was it, the Batman Ninja animated film, I don't know if anybody ever watched it. It's actually really good. I think that's what these Funko Pops are based on, right? Was it Batman Ninja or one of those? But it was just a really, really good animated film. If you guys are interested, they did do the Batman, they did Joker, and then they also did Harley Quinn. And then on a side note, they also showed off Jake in Funko Pop form with some banana pancakes. It's as good as it gets, okay? Adventure Time. If you know, you know. But anyways, I don't want to ramble on too long. I just ran across some really good collectibles. I wanted to share them with you guys. I'll be honest, news hasn't been like insanely overwhelming. It's very thin. You're really having to dig for a lot of these conversational topics. And so I think it's getting a little bit harder. I'm not sure what it is, because there was a time when it was like we just couldn't keep up and we were getting bombarded with a ton of new action figure announcements. But right now it's kind of slowing down. There's not a lot to talk about, but it's Milk Mustaches, okay? His mouth never stops. It's always, every single day hitting you guys with new action figure news. If you guys enjoy this type of content, as I said, we do it on a daily basis. So, stick around, stay tuned. I'm hoping that within like the next couple of weeks, we start to get even more announcements. We haven't had a live stream from Hasbro and well, it feels like forever. I know they do like their G.I. Joes and their Transformer stuff, but in terms of Marvel Legends, I don't think we've had a live stream. Well, it feels like forever. Let's just put it that way. So I'm hoping that, we get something there. McFarlane had his live stream, but it was absolute buffoonness and nonsense. I mean, I liked the collectibles that were being announced, but the live stream was an absolute mess. Like the microphone for these dudes was going out, and then like whoever set up the camera angles needs to be fired immediately, because they were like showcasing some of these figures and you could only see like half of the figure. I'm not sure why. You're setting this thing up. These guys have their jobs. It's like, okay, let's do the whole setup. This camera goes here. And Unfortunately, we were seeing half of a figure at times, or it was like the image was all grainy because it was, technically a live stream, but they need to do better. I've said this before and I'll say it again. The live streams for McFarlane are very, very important. They get the word out, they get, the hype going. And unfortunately, he's just not doing a very good job of creating that ambience for his collectibles. And that, the last live stream was just a perfect example of that. So, anyways, if you guys enjoy this type of content, stick around, stay safe out there, enjoy the hobby, pose your action figures, play around with them. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.